Internal control concepts in relation with information technology. Nowadays, all accounting is on softwares. We are using Oracle, SAP, and other softwares. So auditing also is keeping a little bit different approach. Introduction to internal control components, understand internal control, how to use the flow charts, and internal control and information technology. This is we will discuss. Now, to start with, as in a typical auditing style, we should know what is the general standard. So, auditor must obtain a sufficient understanding of the internal control systems, environment, assess the risk of material misstatement in order to see is there any error or fraud, and to design the nature, timing, and extent of the further audit procedures. This is we already discussed that it's very important for an auditor in a planning stage. He should have assessment of risk and understand the entity in general, so he can develop an approach and he can decide what is the audit procedure that is more relevant to the client need is going to be adopted. So this is what is the standard of fieldwork. Then internal control is a process, he says, which has three objectives. One objective is reliability on financial reporting. So when we have strong internal audit department who is testing each and everything, who is matching the policy with the implementation, they are assessing the risk. So it enhances the image in the eyes of the stakeholders, and we start trusting the company in terms of financially or non-financially. So the first thing is the financial reporting become more reliable because of internal controls on each and every step. So we see it brings more efficiency and effectiveness and compliance with applicable laws and regulation. These are three focus of the internal control or internal audit department. This is they have hired a staff and they are doing and focusing to achieve these three objectives. Yeah, so in the world we have lot of frameworks. If I ask from an American that what is the best way of controlling the organization, he will say a framework we called as COSO, Committee of Sponsoring Organization. If I ask from a Canadian, he has CICA model like Canadian Institute of Chartered Accountant. Same way Britain has another code of a way of controlling. South Africans has other way. So lot of countries has you can say introduce the framework in order to control the organization in an effective way. Because we are doing CPA, so we will study the American style. He says that if you want to bring an effective control, you have to take care of these 5 things, which he just to memorize this is the word called crime. Crime C stands for control environment, R is for risk assessment, information, monitoring and control environments. So control activities and control environment. So how it works is, suppose if I want to sleep and I play loud music and I open the full lights, so it will be very hard for me to sleep. Same way, if I don't have policy, I don't have monitoring, I don't build up an atmosphere in the company that people start realizing that authorization is very important, document work is very important, flows are very important, right? So so I cannot achieve internal control adequacy if I don't focus on these points. So he starts with that you should define what you want to control as a control activity. There might be a lot of things we will not be interested to control. So what minimum or what is our requirement in terms of control procedures, this is we should define, right? Then risk assessment means our system, internal system should have ability to gauge, assess the risk anticipate the risk, and later we'll see risk management procedures will be adopted to handle this. Information and communication system means that all people in an organization, they are clubbed in a systematic organizational structure. So how they communicate with each other, if it is smooth, then you will get a better control. If it is not aligned, then it will create some obstacles in order to have a smooth communication. Of course, monitoring is very important. If you have cameras and you don't see and you don't take action, so people will start feeling that this is nothing. So monitoring is a very important tool if you want to be into internal control. And last point is in control environment, means you have to build up a situation and atmosphere in the company on all the levels. People are talking about control, system, policy, procedure, and documentation. So if everyone is following the internal control policies, procedures, philosophy, then you can expect a very effective internal control department. Of course, it has some internal inherent limitations. Auditing goes on judgment, so judgment may be wrong. So human judgment can be the first limitation. And this is what he says. Sometimes manual or automated system collude or cross each other. It create a problem. And sometimes management itself override internal controls. Like CEO will not follow the proper procedure to issue samples to the customer. He will just call directly inventory controller, I am sending my driver, he will take. So all approval procedures will be violated. So maybe next time inventory controller will himself issue in his name, and he don't know, and no one else can catch these kind of things, when you start overriding your policies. This is one by one, as I explained you, he is going to explain. Control environment means that the organization, how much integrity and ethical values you have. So you just sell and throw customer complaint, you don't listen. So it purely related to your integrity, customer policy handling. If management is not committed, then of course staff will also be not committed. Then commitment to competence means how qualified people you hire, how you train them, how you increase the competency of your staff. This is a very important point, and it falls under the control environment. Then management philosophy, operating style, organizational structure, human resource policies, all will define your atmosphere. If you are educated, you want to bring a sophisticated system which has training, ISO, total quality management, then of course atmosphere will be very lively and reliable. Risk assessment, we already know that risk is an obstacle which comes and it stops you to reach towards your objectives, right? So we always try to mitigate the risk, lessen the risk, so we should not have much uncertainty or surprises, right? It should be on the all level, like planning level, execution level, implementation level, and evaluation phases. We also see the risk assessments. So he says that you can have a lot of risk: market risk, systematic risk, inherent risk, audit risk. Same way, technology can be a risk, new employees can be a risk. Then you have new models, product, corporate restructuring, new accounting pronouncements. These all create risk factors for you that you have to assess them on the adequate level. Control activities. First of all, we should define how to control, what we want to control, so we can set the performance criterions. We can start the evaluation processes accordingly.